Hello everybody, my name is Six Langman. Welcome to my blog and a little quick tip about Lightroom. Just recently I had an ex-student email me with a really interesting two-part problem, and I figured the best way to show the solution and illustrate the solutions is to do a quick video for this. The first part of her problem is that she works at a jewelry company and some of her files have to be individually adjusted because each frame was different in its exposure, sort of like we have up here. But then, once all those adjustments are done to each individual file, once they all sort of look the same, she was wondering how she would increase the overall exposure of all of these files by a certain increment, like 0.25 or zero point 0.5 of an exposure level. So I thought that was a really interesting problem. The second part of her problem was that when she was creating collections for these files to go to print, she wanted the printed files to actually be adjusted slightly differently than the files that sit in her catalog or that get uploaded online. So we're going to look at these two different issues and we'll show you the solutions for those. So we're in the library module looking at all of these rings or all these pieces of jewelry, and we can see that some of these files are slightly underexposed, maybe slightly down here, a little bit more up here, and we want to just adjust those so that they all look pretty similar. So we're just going to flip to the develop module, and I'm able to increase each of the files either in the develop module with the exposure slider or even in the library module in the quick develop panel. So we'll just do this because it's pretty easy here to make these adjustments. So I would increase 1, 2, or 3 there and kind of get to a point at about a stop or a stop and a third where things look good. I could also select, come to the develop module and increase by that same sort of value and just watch what's sort of happening in my film strip down at the bottom. I could also take two of these, select auto sync, and then when I adjust them, if they're at that same level of underexposure, as I increase their exposure, then they will both increase. So the auto sync is a great button. However, each of these files will be synced to plus 1.79. That is what the auto sync button did in the develop module. So her second part of her problem, which was once everything was increased so that it looked good, each file, how would she select all of these files and have all of them adjusted by 0.25 or 0.5 of an exposure? In the develop module, there's no real easy way to do this. The auto sync, if I move this slider or give it a different value, would push all of these files to that exact value. That's not exactly what we need for a solution here. What we could do, though, is go back to the library module, and with all of these selected in the quick develop panel, we're able to increase our exposure by a third stop or 2/3 stops increment. So that would be all of these files, and it would be added to the exact exposure level of each file. So I'm just going to click this once and add a third stop, and you're going to see all of these files increase a third stop. They don't reset their value or push their sliders up at an undetermined amount. So this was the first solution, was A, make all of your adjustments for each individual file and develop and get them all to look good. And then when you need to make an overall adjustment for the files just to boost up anything like exposure or contrast or shadow detail, we can move back to the library module, and with all of them selected, we can make that adjustment. Now the second part of our problem comes in printing these files or sending them off for print. If these files looked good for my online presentation or for my workflow at the location and not in print, then I would maybe want to make a collection of these and call them photos for show, and then I might want to make a second collection and call those photos for print. So I'm just going to show you how we would do this really quickly, and I'm going to do this using a very quick smart collection just to illustrate that. And what we're going to do is this is all Rish's jewelry, so we are going to look for keywords that contain Rish and jewelry, and that would then hopefully put all of those files, there's those 25 files that contain the keywords Rish and jewelry in our selection here. Now let's just say we wanted to send these to print. Well, I could select all of those, and from there, or from that smart collection, I can make another collection. I can create a collection here called Rish for print, and what I can do is then include the selected photos, so we can see that we have all 25 of those photos selected, but we could also make virtual copies. And making virtual copies will allow me to change the photos that are in the print collection separate from the photos that are in the general Rish collection. So we'll create those. So now we have a secondary folder, Rish for print, or collection, Rish for print. And now I would be able to select each of those virtual copies, select all of them, and let's just say if they were to go to print, they needed a little bump more on the exposure, I'd be able to increase the printed files by 1 stop overall, but I would then leave Rish's originals, which are the unhighlighted ones, alone. So the original files, or the printed files that I use at my workplace, that I show clients on a screen, stay at that level, and then the printed ones get a little bump up. So now I have 2 collections that I can work from. These collections, or this final print collection, can then be exported to wherever you need it for print. So I hope this helps you all out by making a smart collection, showing you how the develop module works, making a general exposure move on all of your files, and then making a separate collection to send those to print. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Please keep watching my blog.